My next guest takes on Gina Mazany coming up here at UFC 235 on March 2nd. It is Macy Chiasson joining me here on the program for the very first time. Macy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for joining me here. You're someone I've wanted to talk to for a while. Of course, I've interviewed like half your team over there at Fortis, but you're actually in Vegas right now. We were talking about this off air. What brings you down there?
So I'm in Vegas right now running a few tests with the UFC Performance Institute. They're running a few diagnostics on me just to help me utilize my weight cut coming up. So I'm really excited to work with them. Everyone is super professional over there. They have an amazing team, and they really have come up with an awesome game plan for me for this weight cut.
And of course, you are fighting at 35 in this matchup, but the finale that you won for the Ultimate Fighter was at Featherweight. You got that win over Panicky. Great performance in that one. One thing I wanted to ask you, though, heading into that fight, do you feel like Pani underestimated you a little bit? Because she obviously had a wealth of experience going into the show. I think some people felt like she was going to win the whole thing. Do you feel like she underestimated you?
I think to an extent, yes. I mean, we train together quite often on the show. You know, we were training partners and very good friends. So we knew what we were both capable of. But I think that she thought she had like something over me as far as, you know, because of experience and you know, she's just been in the game a lot longer. So I think she really did underestimate me in that realm.
And in that fight, what was the game plan heading in?
The game plan was basically to never let her settle. It was to drown her and just kind of overwhelm her because she's a longevity fighter. Like, and when I say that, it's because she usually goes like 3, 4, 5 rounds, right? Depending on if it's a title fight or not. So we never wanted to give her an opportunity to settle. We wanted to overcrowd her and flood her, and we ended up, you know, doing exactly what we planned. And you know, I practiced that back take about 1,000. Maybe 5,000 times in practice, and you know, we knew if she was on the ground, I was either going to TKO or it was going to be a back take to a choke.
Was there anything about her in that fight that surprised you at all?
She was ready. She was ready to go. She was very strong. She was a lot stronger than I anticipated. But you know, she went back to her normal camp, so that, you know, that's normal. She's always had good cage defenses, so you know, I wrestled a lot in this camp, and you know, Fortis MMA is very heavy wrestling, so you know, that's a lot of what my camp, you know, composed of. But yeah, no, I mean, no real surprises. I mean, she was just ready to go. You know, she was just ready to fight, so can't ask for a better opponent.
So has life changed at all since you won the show? Because, you know, people were watching that fight. It was a very good performance. I'm sure you got a lot of good feedback, not only from the UFC, but also on social media. Have things changed a bit since then?
Yeah, I mean, people are starting to kind of notice, and I've had a lot of fans like reach out and super kind, you know, just very, very, very nice people just telling me that congratulations, and they're looking forward to my next fight. And you know, so I've just had a lot of, you know, positive feedback since then.
That's good to hear. And how was your experience on the show? Because everyone's a little bit different. I mean, you won the show, so it must have gone pretty well for you. But in general, you know, being in the house and going through all that, not having any phone or internet or anything like that, how was that for you?
Well, I mean, not having a phone, you know, not talking to my parents and stuff like that, that was hard. Being cut off from the world, that's hard. I think the hardest part was the fact that you had nowhere to go as far as like to get away from everyone. You had to be in the moment all the time, you know, and that's a real big mental stress factor. A lot of people can't handle that. You know, you had a few people that were drinking, they couldn't handle it, but you know, with the weight cuts and all and having to be on weight at all times, I was able to stay really focused. So I actually really enjoyed that part of it because I feel like I grew mentally, you know, as a person and as a fighter. You know, if I can do a 6 to 8 week camp at home, I mean, well, in the house, then I could do a 6 to 8 week camp at home easy. So, yeah, I thought it was a good experience. Very, very tough. Probably wouldn't want to do it again. Yeah, so it was a good time.
Is there anyone you still keep in touch with from the show? Because I know obviously you make some pretty good friendships on there. I know you get into the group chats and all that. How's that going after?
Yeah, we have a tough 28 group chat going on with Team Gastelum. So we basically message each other every day. It's ridiculous. So we all stay pretty close.
So I mentioned it off the top, this fight is at bantamweight. Was that the plan all along after you won the show to go down to bantamweight, or did you? What was sort of take me through the process of going to 135?
So the plan was never to drop to 35. But when I did make the transition from New Orleans to Dallas to train with Fortis, Saif was like, I really, you are a big athletic girl and you would be great at 45, but I really think that you can get to 35. I think there's a lot of room to spare as far as like your legs go. Like you have a little bit of fat to lose. He's like, I really think you could really, really progress and thrive at 35. And when he first said that, I was like, really? Because because I've never made that cut. And when I was an amateur, I fought 45 the whole time. I just never ever thought about going to 35. And he kind of engraved that into my head, and we talked about it a little bit. We talked with some nutritionists, and now we're working with the UFC. So, there's a really big light at the end of the tunnel, and I really think that we're gonna do big things in this division. It's gonna be a good choice.
I was going to ask you what the UFC's reaction was to this, because they did this show with the intent that they could build up this division, and now a couple of the fighters from that show have dropped to 35.
Yeah, no, I mean they offered us the fight at 35, and we were like, okay, we'll take it, and we kind of just been going from there. So we never really had any roadblocks with the UFC with it. I mean, they seem to be very forward about it. So yeah.
Okay. And I guess just one other thing on featherweight, especially now, we have a new champion with Amanda Nunes getting the win over Chris Cyborg. Does any part of you sort of look at the featherweight division as there might be more opportunity there? 135 is a little bit more crowded. Is that something that was a factor at all?
Yeah, 135 is crowded, but there is also a lot more opportunity for me there. I mean, there's a lot more women in that division, and I feel like I could really go, a lot more in the 35. And there's always a potential to go back up and down. I mean, look at what everyone else is doing. I mean, So I wouldn't say that's the end of 45 for me. I just say that we have room to kind of go in both divisions and work as we need to. So.
Did you see Megan Anderson's comments on the featherweight division, just talking about the show and saying, oh, all these people are dropping down? Did you see that at all?
Yeah, I saw that, and she didn't really mention me too much. I know they had a few fans that were mentioning my name, but. Ultimately, I mean, that was never my decision, and I never went into the show saying that I was going to drop to 35, because I am truly a 45er. But I can't help where the division's going. I can't help, what's next for any of the 45ers. I mean, basically the whole roster fought already, so it's like, who am I going to fight next? So it's just, there's just a lot of endless questions, and they're always going to try and blame the fighters. It's really not the fighters' fault. We're just doing what we have to do, in order to thrive and survive in the sport. So
let's talk about your opponent here, Gina Mazany, 5-2 record. How do you feel like you match up against her in this fight?
I think it's a really great matchup for me, especially for my second UFC fight. She's southpaw. We've watched a few of her fights already with Sarah McMahon and a few of her fights from the Tough House. I'm really excited. I look forward to fighting her, and I think it's going to be a good scrap.
Have you run into her at all in Vegas? Because she trains at Extreme.
Yeah, I ran into her yesterday at the PI. Yeah,
everything good? No dirty stares or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I saw her and smiled, and she kind of, I don't think she liked that, so, but it's fine.
Well, there you go.
It is what it is. It's women, I'm a very nice person, and it's always awkward if you're going to be weird to each other, so you might as well just be nice, say hi.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So, as a Canadian, I can appreciate that. We're known for being sort of extra nice and all that. Yeah. Where are you training right now in terms of, because you're in Vegas, I'm sure you're getting a little bit of work in. Yeah.
There's really, I mean, we're just really trying to be careful with who I'm working with right now. I can't go to Extreme Couture because that's where, I feel like that would be kind of weird walking in. Hey, because Gina trains there. So, yeah, I'm just training at the PI right now. I'm kind of using this week as a recovery week. And, a lot of the tests that they're running on me are very cardio and endurance intense. So I'm trying not to
like, if anyone saw you, it's not like they can pick up a game plan because you're running on the treadmill,
right? So. Yeah, because I'm not doing any MMA over there. I'm not hitting a bag or anything. They're running a lot of diagnostics on me, and I can't really be sore or too overtrained for them to run these tests, because they need to make sure that I'm fresh and all my vitals are good when they're running the diagnostics.
And how long are you staying in Vegas, and when will you head back to Texas to train at Fortis?
I will be going home Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Morning.
So it's just a short trip then. That makes
sense. It's a short trip, yeah.
What initially brought you to Fortis? You mentioned, moving. How did that all come together?
So, I have a great team in New Orleans, and I still train with them when I go back home. Sean Gayton actually still corners me for all of my fights. He's my original jiu-jitsu MMA coach. And the reason I ended up switching is just not enough. There was just not enough people. You know, there was a lot of times I would show up for practice, and it's great training. It's just I don't have any partners. I don't have any consistent partners, training partners to put me through an efficient camp. You know, so that was kind of the decision for me. You know, looking around, looking for places, and I ended up. My manager actually knows Saya very well. They live in the same area. He's like, hey, I want you to check out this gym. You know, no pressure. Just go in there. You know, he knows of you. He doesn't really know you well. So I went there for 2 weeks, and you know, after a few days, he came up to me. He's like, I want you to train here. He's like, I see something in you. He's like, I really think we can do something in the UFC. And he's like, I want you to come here and train with us. So he literally got everything set up. He got me an apartment. He got all this stuff for me, and I made the move.
Do you train with any women, or is it all men over at Fortis?
We have one woman, Deborah. She is a little smaller. She's a lot smaller than I am, actually. She recently, I think she recently got a contract with Invicta. So I train with her sometimes because it's nice to go against, you know, a woman. But no, I train with men, mostly smaller men.
Is there pressure just competing at that gym? Because Fortis has been on a roll this year. I mean, I don't know if, you know, I don't know if they've handed out all the awards yet, but I mean, your coach should have taken home Coach of the Year. The gym, you know, just so many notable wins last year. Is there sort of added pressure with that, just with the fact you want to keep the gym momentum going?
We're all under that pressure, you know. We all, I mean, even if we have guys there that haven't fought in years, and they show up at every practice because they want to see their teammates thrive. You know, we're always there for each other, and the gym is very, very, it's a close-knit group, and everyone wants to just see everyone go to the top. So I mean, there's always pressure, you know, you want to keep that momentum going, but you know, the team is just so good in itself that we push each other no matter what. So.
And you talked there about the weight cut. Anything different that you're doing to try and get down to 35? Do you have to eat, you know, smaller portions? What are some of the things you're having to do?
They have me on like a little bit of a meal plan right now, and it's really just utilizing fats and carbs the right way, instead of just always like carbing it up before practice. Depending on what kind of practice it is, you might do fats instead, or you might do carbohydrates. So while I'm here, they're trying to find out, you know, when I burn the most fat. So, you know, they're going to have a whole plan for me when I leave here, and I'm really going to be able to utilize you know, my time a lot better, and we started eating a lot cleaner earlier, you know, so I'm on a very strict meal plan now. You know, I've been on one for about 3 weeks now, so you know, instead of starting 4 weeks out, you know, I'm starting now.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And you know, have you actually done a test cut 235 yet, or are you in that process now?
No, I'm in that process now. We're not going to do a test cut because I mean, it's just going to be it's just too close.
I mean,
the
fight is in March, but still, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the Performance Institute has all these like data sheets for me, you know, target weights at what week I should be at, and you know, so everything's going real smoothly, and I'm excited. I think I'm going to look really good at 35. I'm going to be a lot leaner, and I'm going to look more athletic. So.
How do you see this fight playing out on March 2nd?
You know, you never know. Things could always happen, but you know, we see a finish. So.
No, it's going to be an exciting fight for sure.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like a win would put you in that division, just because it is a new division for you? You've won the Ultimate Fighter. You've got an undefeated record. I imagine it looked pretty good in bantamweight.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But you know, I think it's going to be good for me. I think we're going to be in a good place after this win. So.
What does downtime look like for you? Obviously, you're very busy training and getting ready for this fight, but you know, are you going for walks? Are you watching any Netflix? You playing any video games? What would I find you doing for downtime?
Downtime, you know, so I have a Belgian Malinois. I have a very high maintenance dog. So we hike a lot, you know, so moving to Dallas was actually pretty beneficial because there's a lot of places, you know, for me to take my dog and walk and hike. So, you know, that's what I usually do on my downtime.
That's great. And how important is that to, you know, get out of the house and just get your mind off training and everything?
Oh gosh, it's so important, you know, especially when I initially moved to Dallas. That's all I was doing was training, you know, and Coach Saif was like, you need to go and do something. He's like, you need to go out, He's like, I know you don't like going out, but he's like, I want you to go out. I want you to meet people. He's like, because all you do is train and you don't have any other, release. He's like, there has to be a balance no matter what, So, so he was really adamant about that and really good with that. I've met people but I go hiking a lot with my dog, and that usually does the trick.
Last question before I let you go. I spoke to Chris Cyborg before her fight against Amanda Nunes, and she actually brought your name up because we were talking about what was happening in the division. What does that mean to have someone like Chris, and, I'm sure there's other fighters as well, acknowledge the accomplishments you've made, including, winning the Ultimate Fighter? What does that mean to you?
Man, that means a lot to me. Chris Cyborg is a very respectable person, and she's been the champion for a long time, and it's just nice to know that someone like that who's been winning, for 163 months, right? I think that's what she mentioned. To be that humble and supportive of other people, because she really does need us in the division. She needs more people, in order to keep her up and keep all of us going. So, I feel like if I was in her shoes, I would probably, say the same thing, and it just says a lot about her character. And it was actually pretty cool because before I went out to fight Panicky in the finale, Rafael dos Anjos was in the corner, and Chris Cyborg's coach, they're all under the same team. So after I won, he congratulated us, and he shook my coach's hands, and it was just really nice, to know that her coaches and herself, like, they're all just very supportive people, and they're good people.
It was really nice getting a chance to finally talk to you this morning, Macy. I really appreciate the time. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you have any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
So you can find me at MMA _NOLA on Instagram, and Facebook is just Macy Chiasson. I also have an official fan page. It's the same as well. I just want to give a shout out to Fortis MMA, my home team, Mid City MMA, Avondale Legends Boxing Club, T-Mac Boxing. I want to give a shout out to my manager, Mike Hale, my sponsors back home, Fotel Bay. So that's all I can think of right now. But I mean, there's a lot of people, and it's mainly my New Orleans supporters. So love all you guys, my friends and family from back home.